I'm a used car dealer, and right now I don't think you should buy a car.
Brutal week for the automakers.
Car payments rose twice as much as overall inflation from 2019 to 2024.
So let's talk about the seasonality of the car market right now, and I'm specifically talking about for used cars. Now, new car dealers, they're going to have seasonality too, where, okay, they're going to be slow sometimes of the year, they're going to be picking up with their sales other times of the year, and what you want to really target, both on the used car side and the new car side, is the times that dealers are the slowest throughout the year. That's when they're going to be more negotiable. That's when you're going to be able to get more money off of the vehicle that you're trying to buy. So on the used car side of things, I am a used car dealer. I sell cars that are $5,000 and under. I know the seasonality of used cars very, very, very well. I've been doing it for 13 years, and we live and die by car market seasonality. So what we do have that's interesting in this car market right now is that there's some brands that are desirable where their sales are going up, but you can still get better deals even though they are still selling more cars. And the reason for that is because even though their sales are going up, the available inventory is also going up, and it's going up higher than their sales.
Of all the brands in the US, Stellantis brands are among those sitting on dealer lots the longest. 5 of the 8 brands with the most days supply are all Stellantis brands.
And I get this comment all the time. Well, you talk about these Toyota dealers that are loading up, like they're loading up on trucks, Tacomas, Tundras, but they are selling more this year than they did last year. That is true, but the reason why they still are having a hard time moving these vehicles and why you can get money off of them is because the availability of these vehicles is just going up, and it's going through the roof. And availability is the most important thing to the price of the vehicle. If we had no vehicles on the market, but still these dealers were selling almost no cars, you think back 3 years ago, they had no cars and their sales were way down, but they're still charging outrageous prices, is because there weren't any vehicles. Supply and demand, right?
As the pandemic rolled on, automakers started raising prices too. Stellantis did it much more aggressively than others.
There are no vehicles, prices have to go up, but now you can get a Tundra, you can get a RAV4, you can get Corollas, you can go anywhere and get any of these vehicles that you couldn't find a couple years ago, and this is what pushes the prices down. This is what makes these dealerships more negotiable, and this is something that we're going to continue to see throughout the market. So even the most desirable cars, even the ones that their sales are increasing, their prices are going to continue to go down as time goes on, because these dealers are going to have more access to these vehicles. Availability is the most important thing to the price of the vehicle.
Anyone who bought a car pretty much at any point in the last 4 years paid historically high prices.
So then, what do I think you should do? Well, I said it earlier in this video. I don't think you should buy a car right now if you don't have to. So that means keeping your car running longer. And how do you do that? Well, keep up your maintenance on your car, change your oil, make sure you have a trusted mechanic. Trusted mechanics are so hard to find. They can rip you off just as easily as a used car dealer can. And if you have a list of people who you trust the most, you're probably going to have Satan, you're going to have a mechanic, and then you're going to have a used car dealer. We are both under Satan himself to be a trusted person that you want to work with. I joke about that, obviously, but they're on the bottom of the list. So if you can go find a trusted mechanic that you can take all your work to, I mean, they become part of the family. They're on the Christmas card list. You take them baked goods every time you go get maintenance done. But your car, as long as you keep it longer, it's going to break. Something's going to break on your car. Make sure you have an emergency fund. Make sure you have money put back, because when that catastrophe happens, when that disaster happens to your car, when your alternator goes out, when your transmission, when your motor goes out, something like that, it's still going to be cheaper for you to get that car fixed than it is for you to buy a new car. So I would recommend that you keep your car running as long as possible and wait this car market out. That's what I would do if I were you and you were looking to buy a car right now. And here's an even bigger problem for brands that aren't selling very well. You think about Stellantis, you think about Nissan right now. There are brands out there that they are increasing their incentives, but their sales are going down. See, Stellantis, just think the parent company to Jeep, Dodge, Ram, their incentives went up by a lot. So their prices on their new vehicles went down. Cash on the hood, cash, that money that was coming from the manufacturer to give to the consumers to get butts and seats, was going up and up and up. But they're still still their sales continuously go down and down and down. This is very worrisome for brands like that, because as we see, the level of inflation is not getting all that much more. There's not a lot more money in people's pockets to just be able to go out and buy cars. Interest rates are not coming down in a major way. They are coming down, but not in a major way. There's nothing on the horizon that's going to allow people to be able to buy more vehicles, and this is concerning because that means that more money has to come out from the manufacturer to be able to sell vehicles. And as they're putting more money out and their sales are still going down, that's a recipe for disaster for a lot of these major car manufacturers, and it's going to be something that's going to continue to get worse for them. But it's good for the consumer. It's good for you if you want to buy one of these vehicles, because if you can just hold on, if you can wait, there will be more incentives, there will be more special interest rates, there will be more money on the hood for you as a buyer if you just continue to wait, because the sales there we see, even though prices are going down, they're not getting any better. And on top of cash on the hood, on top of incentives that are coming from these manufacturers, there are also special interest rates. What do these dealers know? What do these manufacturers know? They know it's getting harder and harder for consumers to get approved for loans. So what do they do to help? Well, they add 0% interest to a lot of these vehicles. Look at this list right here. These are all vehicles that qualify for 0% interest, and manufacturers know they're going to have to continue to do this. So if you are, notice on this list that a lot of undesirable vehicles. The tougher that it gets for these dealers to move cars, the more that these 0% offers are going to come out. So if you are a buyer who is going to take out a loan for a car, I would recommend you not. I would rather you buy something you can actually afford and pay cash for it. But if you are a buyer, which I know most people are, that are going to get a loan for a car, you can wait out for these 0% interest offers, because there's going to be more and more of them be added to the market as the market gets worse. And rates are going to go lower from here. I mean, we know that the Federal Reserve, they're going to lower rates. That is what is going to happen. So it's not going to be quick. They're not going to lower rates by percentages overnight. It's going to take time. So the longer that you can wait, if you are a buyer that's going to take out a loan on a car, your interest rate will get better the longer that you wait. This is just something that we know is going to happen in the car market. And I see it a lot in my comments. A lot of people saying, well, until prices get back down to 2019 prices, until prices crash by 40%, I'm not going to be a buyer. I'm sorry to tell you, but if you're waiting on that kind of crash in the market, if you're waiting on prices to go back to where they were before all this craziness started, it's not going to happen. And if you're waiting on that, you'll never be able to buy a vehicle again. And I'll explain it. So even if all this craziness didn't happen over the last few years, even if the MSRPs didn't get jacked up as high as they did, even if all these market adjustments didn't happen over the last few years, even if used car prices didn't go up in 1 year over 43%, the price of vehicles would still be higher right now than where they were in 2019. That's just the natural trend of where the car market goes. Things get more expensive. And I get it. I know. I mean, I want things to go back to where they were. I used to be able to sell cars for $1,500 and still make money. I used to be able to buy cars for $300 and $400 at dealer auctions and sell them for $1,500. My sweet spot was a $2,500 car, and now it's up to $3,500, $4,000. I want things to go back to how they were, but that's not how the car market works. Back before 2019, our sweet spot was $1,500, and then probably 2018 or so, our sweet spot jumped up to $2,500. Craziness happened, and then our sweet spot jumped up to way over that, and now I'm a car dealer that sells cars for $5,000 and under. And I can anticipate, even though there's nothing crazy on the horizon for the car market, 3 to 5 years from now, I'm probably not going to be a car dealer that sells cars for $5,000 and under. I'm probably going to be a car dealer that sells cars for $7,000 and under. I get it. Prices just continue to rise, and I just feel I complain about it as much as you do. I can promise you. I mean, you're watching these videos, you know how much I complain about it. Just know prices can come down from here, and I believe that they're going to come down from where they are right now, but you're never going to see that number that you saw back in 2019. It's sad to say, but that's the reality. So let's go to the beginning of the year, and that's let's see here, January, February. This is the slowest time that a used car dealer is going to experience. But we have a little bit of a problem. See, it's followed by the absolute fastest time. I didn't say fastest time, but the time that we're going to sell the most vehicles throughout the whole year, and that's tax time. So tax time usually hits us end of February, beginning of March, and during this time, the prices on the used car market are going to be more expensive than any other time during the year. So this is why I want to say, even though we're at the slowest time of the year, we're still loading up for cars right before tax time hits. So I would say to you that January and February are probably not the best times to buy a used vehicle from a used car dealer, because all used car dealers know the exact same thing that I know, is that, okay, great times are about to come. So we're not going to want to negotiate all that much, because we know that in a few weeks, in a month or so, we're going to sell absolutely everything that we have on our lot. So this is not the time that I think it's not the time to be poking around at a used car dealership to try to find a deal. So we go through tax time, we absolutely smash. Just to give you a reference point, I will actually make about 25% of what I make all year round in about a month and a half, just because tax checks get here. So people go to work all throughout the year, they'll overpay on their paychecks to the government, and they'll get a tax refund, and it's usually the most money that one of these consumers will have at any given point throughout the year. So what do? They spend that money on cars. So they come here, and typically I'll keep 70, 80, 85 cars on my lot at a time throughout the year. But at tax time, I try to have double that. I try to have 150 cars, because I know I'm going to sell them so quickly. And then we go through that time after that tax time period. Then the car market slows down. We go throughout summer, it's another slow period of time. So the end of summer is another good time to go and actually poke dealers and find out there'll be no more negotiable, because the sales slow up. Then we back to school, vacation, things like that. And then we'll head to the beginning of fall. You think end of September, October. It usually picks up. And I've never known why. I just know that October is traditionally a good month for used car dealers. And we're seeing that now here at my car lot, that we're picking up our sales right now. So that's also not another good time to negotiate. But I will say, you get into the holiday season, you get into the end of November, end of December, this is going to be your very best time to buy a vehicle, because this is when car dealers are the absolute slowest of any other time during the year. They're going to be the most negotiable. I know for us, we will hope to break even in November and in December, and this is right before the time we start to really load up going into tax time. So you're in that kind of Goldilocks zone where you have dealers that are not thinking about this promised land of tax time coming up on the used car side. And then so they're still trying to get rid of vehicles that they're not able to sell at the moment. So that's, if you're looking at used car dealers, that's the very best time for you to pounce, to be able to get some kind of deal. If there's going to be a deal out there to be had, it's going to be right at the end of the year. And I will say, for new car dealers, from what I've learned covering the car market, talking to franchise managers, talking to, let's say, Ray from Car Edge, he has run a franchise dealership for many years. Then that's also the best time for you to buy a brand new car. So that's the thing that I'm trying to tell you right now, and why it's probably not the greatest time, and I would say definitely not a good time to buy a car right now, whether you're looking at a used car or a new car. Even if you have to buy a car in the next few months or so, don't buy it right now. You should at least wait until the end of the year, because all these things that we've been talking about through this whole video, all these things are going to just pile up on these dealers right at the same time, and they need to move vehicles right at the end of the year, and that's when you're going to be able to get the best deal that you can possibly get. So you want to buy right at the end of the year. That's going to be your best time if you have to buy within the next 4, 5, 6 months. But if you don't, I would wait till well after tax time, probably towards the end of next year. I think we are going to somewhat normalize. I think prices are going to come down. I think the car market's going to be a much worse place next year than it is this year. I hate to say that. I'm a used car dealer. I'm in the business. I do want to sell you a car, but if I'm to give you my honest advice, I think things will get better the longer that you wait, but not during that tax time. Remember, used car buying ever. If you think 5-10 years down the road from this information I'm giving you today, you never want to buy a used car February, March, April, around that tax time period, because that's when prices throughout the year are the most that they're ever at throughout the year. So just to give you an example of what happens, we'll sell out all our cars in the end of February, beginning of March when tax time hits. And we'll go on a vacation from buying cars for a few weeks because prices go so high up at auction that we just don't want to pay the prices. That's how bad it gets for us at our car dealership. And I don't want you to be in that situation where you're buying into that pressure from the market. And on the new car side, the longer you wait, the better incentives are going to be, the more downward pressure on prices from dealers are going to be, the better interest rates are going to be, and the more negotiable dealers are going to be. Availability of vehicles is what determines the price, and not how many cars they're actually selling. Remember that when you're looking at buying a car. The more cars a dealer has, the longer that car sits on the lot. That's when you're going to, if you find that car, that's when you're going to get the best deal. Before you buy any used car, if I could give you any bit of advice, this is the most important thing you can take away this whole thing. I don't care what you pay for the car. I don't care who you buy it from. If you buy it from me, if you buy it from your mom, if you buy it from a friend that you've known your whole life. If you're buying a used car, make sure you get it checked out by your trusted mechanic before you buy it. In the used car market, you can buy a paperweight really quickly, and this is your first line of defense. If you can get it checked out, then you'll have all the information you'll need before you actually be able to buy that car, so you don't buy a paperweight. Know what you're getting into before you buy it.